Good evening and welcome to the launch of Iiith'S Hyderabad Silver Jubilee celebrations. I am Purvi in the undergraduate 2021 program of the Computational Natural Sciences program.
I am Orgo in the undergraduate 2021 batch of the Computational Human Sciences program.
We are honored to be a part of today's program. We would like to now invite the Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Gullapalli Nageshwara Rao and Professor P.J. Narayanan, Director of Iiith'S Hyderabad, onto the stage. On this day, 25 years ago, Iiith'S Hyderabad was founded as Indian Institute of Information Technology, and Professor C.N. Kaul conducted the very first class. In 2001, our institute attained the status of deemed university and was also renamed as International Institute of Information Technology, Hyderabad. As we enter the 25th year since its founding in 1998, we are honored to have you join us in our incredible journey. Today's program is split into two sessions separated by a short break. The first segment covers talks by our distinguished guests, which is followed by student-led cultural events. Before we commence this evening's program, we request everyone to please mute their phones. In the spirit of our 25th year, you have 25 seconds to do that. We would now like to invite our director, Professor P.J. Narayanan, to address the gathering.
Good afternoon. Particular welcome to Dr. G.N. Rao, who is a big institution builder. We all know about him. Hopefully, we don't have to know him as a doctor. So we are so honored to have you here. And I'm also, I welcome everybody, all the students, faculty, alumni who are joining here, as well as on online to this event. This is the first of what is going to be 18-month long drawn-out Silver Jubilee celebrations. So 24 years ago, on this day, this very day, September 2nd, a new institution was born. Purvi mentioned, Professor C.N. Kaul took the very first mathematics class, very first class of this university. And we have Praveen sitting there, who was in the class. He is now a faculty member here. So that was the birth of that moment where the institution came to being. So we have celebrated September 2nd as our foundation day. This institution was not an ordinary institution with the institution with a different model, because it was not started by, universities in India can be started either under a central act or a state act or under these private university acts. So this was neither a state government institution nor a central government institution. What's also true was that there was no individual behind it. There was no family trust. There was no owner. It was owned by everybody. Okay. And there was no precedent of that kind of institutions in the country, at least an academic institution that gives degrees. The institution nevertheless started. There was strong push from few people in the government who, while staying away, thought of us as their institution for all the right reasons and not for all the wrong reasons. So there was strong push, and there were people, including Sri Srini Raju sitting here, who signed the first, the memorandum of understanding association of the institute was signed, and he was one of the signatories, and he's been associated with us ever since. So the journey started with very high aspirations and very high hope, and very little else here. The land and some of the buildings were given to us, and we were just starting. Another institution, by the way, of a very similar model set up by the larger institute also started in Hyderabad, exists in Hyderabad, hardly a kilometer from here, the ISB, almost very similar model, but ISB started with the participation of the global who is who and strong financial support. IIIT started rather quietly, keeping a low profile, focusing on academics at least for the initial years. It was not clear then how this institution will survive and how long will it survive, far less it will thrive. The institution had to do jugaad and everything, including converting, rooms meant for courts and justices into classrooms or director's office and so on. 50 students, surprisingly 50 students joined the institute in the first year and 100 the next year and so on. An institution which had no university status, no name, no fame, but they had trust, and they are the true risk takers and pioneers. They joined us anyway. But what we had is enlightened leadership. Professor Raj Reddy had been persuaded to be the chairperson of the governing council. Professor Narendra Ahuja from Illinois was the initial director. Professor Rajiv Sangal from Kanpur had joined as faculty member, who later became the director. Professor Kaul was here, who taught many years at IIT Kharagpur. Professor Govindarajulu was many years at NIT Warangal. He was here, and so on. So good leadership was there. And the institute in that years invested in people with very frugal other infrastructure and other facilities. Importantly, institute innovated very heavily on the curricular aspects. The undergraduate research was a founding objective, or from day one, how to enable undergraduates to be first-class participants in the research programs. And research-led curriculum overall, every course having some research component or enabling people to think way beyond just the textbook material. That was from the very beginning, and that's probably what propelled us into being a very noted academic institution. We had new models for everything. Financial model was tuition fees for everything. Even from day one, there was no money given from the state government or any government. The state government actually persuaded 5 companies, big name companies, to give a corpus of 30 lakhs each. So we started with a corpus of 1.5 crores. And the very first batch itself paid their fees, and the bills were paid from them. So that's the model. And academically, we also decided to not have departments which actually separate people, subjects into, or create boundaries between subjects. So we are oriented or organized as research centers. That's a great innovation, and which means we can focus on research problems, and that continues to this day. And the research centers are also autonomous, empowered entities. They are enabled to fly as high as they want to. Some want to be a large research center doing many activities. Some want to focus on a few things intensely. That freedom is there. They're expected to raise their own resources. As I say, the old Chinese adage that, you teach someone how to fish, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach someone how to fish, they will eat for a lifetime. That's the message behind autonomy. We want the groups and individual faculty members and teams to be enabled so that they can chart their own course. Yet at the same time, how do we defend ourselves? This is a new model of institution. Yes, it had strong support, moral support from the state government. But nobody knows how this works. We first got the deemed university status, and that itself had, there's a twist to it. Purvi mentioned, we started as Indian Institute of Information Technology, but became International Institute of Information Technology because no institution other than central government supported institution can use the word Indian. Similar Googlies could come from many parts when you are an institution of this kind. So we had, I like to think of 4 things we did to protect ourselves or to defend ourselves. One is we built tall towers of excellence, so that nobody, no arrow, no stones can reach that height. If the institution do very well, nobody can find fault with it. Everybody has to recognize that. That's the first line of defense or first line of activity. Second, we also built deep moats around our castle, deep moats of doing things properly, of ethical behavior, doing everything properly, whether it's admission, whether it is financial, whether it's recruitment, have proper procedures, ensure only quality people get in. So that's the protection, the moat of protection. Third is, even though we have a moat, build many, many bridges, because we are an institution not owned by anybody. I like to say this is an institution for the larger society, of the larger society, and by the larger society. So we need to connect with all of them. So we actually consciously connect with industry, startups, other academic institutions, like our other peer academic institutions like the engineering college around here, whom we can possibly help. We even have programs for school children. We just want to be connected with every section of society because we belong to the whole society. And the fourth step that we consciously adopt is make the soil very strong. That is, have trust, have faith in yourself that you can do it. If you don't have that strong soil, the tall towers won't stand, the moats won't save you, and the bridges will also collapse. So these 4, I think of these 4 dimensions are what make us, what characterizes and make us a different or unique institution. We did quite well academically maybe in the first 10 years itself, and we are glad to have inspired several institutions. In 2006, the Ellen Mittal Institute of Information Technology started in Jaipur. In a very similar model, the Rajasthan government gave land to the Ellen Mittal Foundation to start this institution. I remember Professor Rajiv Sangal, who was the director before me, was somehow involved with this thing. Rajasthan government had this doubt: how can we give land to a private entity? What will happen to it? There's no precedent. Then they said, no, there is precedent in Hyderabad. And he went and made a presentation of what happened, and that convinced them. So they gave the land. So it's a positive thing. This model spread slowly. IIIT in Delhi started in 2008, and they adopted several of our model. Professor Pankaj Jaloti was the first director, told us, until I have my own academic council, can your academic council serve as ours? So that's another institution we strongly inspired or influenced. And later, the Planning Commission and MHRD formulated this 20 PPP IIITs, born largely out of our model, but the slightly different there. The government, central government and state government give infrastructure support, initial infrastructure support, but there are private partners who bear 15% of the cost of the infrastructure. And in the long run, they get no running expenses, OPEX from any government. So these are the things that we were able to, our model could inspire or could create, and we are very proud of that. Now we completed 24th year and started the 25th year of our journey. 25th anniversary is a very important milestone. Academic institutions have different time scales from individuals. We celebrated our 10th anniversary in 2008. So 10th anniversary for an institution is like a child going to maybe kindergarten or something. For even children go to kindergarten at age 4, maybe 3 or 4, but institutions at 10 years is like that stage. You're still beginning to learn. At 25 years, you are like probably past adolescence, trying to find a way for yourselves, chart a path and course that of your own, and that's where we are now. And we want to celebrate it. So that's why instead of having one moment, 25th anniversary being a day or a moment, we are planned to have a long, drawn-out celebrations. This from now for 18 months, we are planned several things. In fact, we first created a Silver Jubilee committee with some of our faculty members, as well as Srinigaru as a member. And importantly, we made one of our most active alumnus, Vipul Kedia, who will be in the function later today. He could not come here. He's joining online. He's already there. Vipul is the vice chair of the Silver Jubilee Committee, and this has been planning things. There will be several events and activities over the years, over the next few months, that imbibe that or demonstrate the spirit of IIIT's 25th anniversary. That's the, what we really want. What I really want for this Silver Jubilee to be an occasion to connect with the broader community, the students and parents, the alumni and their families, the industry, the well-wishers and others. I think the 25th anniversary is not a day or a moment to have fireworks and forget about it, but it's a process, it's a spirit by which we connect with everybody much stronger than before and use the opportunity to build something that will last much longer. And that's the Silver Jubilee spirit. It should be I want to use the Silver Jubilee spirit to propel ourselves forward ever faster and ever farther than we could plan for before. So with these words, I welcome you all to today's function. We have Dr. G.N. Rao giving us this distinguished lecture or a special Foundation Day lecture. We will have several such lectures in the coming months. We will have other activities also, and we have launching a new logo, as you know, from the program that will be done soon after this. We will have a website will come up. We will have merchandise shop for there's a campus mall. You can go to campusmall.com where you can get IIIT merchandise as well as 25th anniversary merchandise. So those are the beginnings, and I again congratulate the larger IIIT community on this important milestone, especially the students, the faculty, and the alumni. Ultimately, academic institutions like this are owned by alumni. I tell whenever it's possible to our students that, you are a student for 4 years. I am a faculty member. I've been here for 22 years. I'll be here for a few more years, but it's still limited. Once you are an alumnus of IIIT Hyderabad, that's for life. And you have to carry the institute forward. You have to help the institute in different ways and tell us how we can help you back. So that alumni are all students will become alumni someday. So alumni, connecting with alumni is the most important thing that we want to achieve as part of the Silver Jubilee celebration. Welcome all of you to today's event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor P. Janaranan, for your wonderful speech. We now request you to introduce Professor Raj Reddy.
Okay, forgot about that. So after this welcome, we have a pillar of strength for the institute has been Professor Raj Reddy, who really needs no introduction to most of this audience. He's a Turing Award winner, the highest recognition in computer science, professor at Carnegie Mellon University. But most importantly, he has been engaged with several projects and activities in India for the last maybe 30 plus years, and particularly in education sphere, meant for the people who are underprivileged in the society. That has been his particular focus. So we also have started a Raj Reddy Center on Technology and Society at the institute, focusing on education and healthcare for the bottom of the pyramid. So Raj Reddy has been our inspiration for not just doing high-end research, but also keeping the society in mind whenever we do anything. It is not for the publications or the accolades that you get from doing research, but it's the ultimate impact on the persons in the society who may be a villager. He talks about the example of a illiterate housewife sitting in rural Andhra Pradesh should be able to use all the benefits of today's information technology. And he is inspired us. 15 years ago, he said, someone who is illiterate, someone who is less sophisticated needs better support, higher bandwidth. We can do with text. They need video. So they need better support, better technology, better everything. So it's not that working for the bottom of the pyramid is the easy problem. It's the harder problem. So this has been the inspiration that he has been giving us, and he has been the chairman of our governing council for the last 25 years from very beginning, and that's been a great source of strength and great source of inspiration for every activity the institute has done. I now welcome, invite Professor Raj Reddy to give his message on the occasion of launch of the Silver Jubilee. Professor Raj Reddy.
Good evening. Can you all hear me? I guess you are.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. We are 25 years, our beginning of the 25th year today. We'll be fully 25 years old on September 2nd of 2023, a year from now. And in this short period of time, IIIT has achieved something that no other institution in India has done. It is ranked among the top 10, maybe even top 5 institutions of technology to be in the whole country. Neither Osmania University nor Andhra University, no other institution in either in Telangana or Andhra have achieved the same status. The question is, how did we get there? What happened? How did this whole institution, which came out of nowhere, got created? And what is the background, and what is the prehistory? So I happen to be there at the beginning, so I can share with you information some of you may not even know, many of you may not have even been born by that time. So that's my plan for this morning. So to begin, distinguished chief guest, Dr. G.N. Rao, eminent director of IIIT, Dr. P.J. Narayanan, our distinguished founding spirit, Dr. Srini Raju. He is not yet doctor, I don't know, maybe he has a degree, but he will soon be, I'm sure. But the important thing is there are many people in the audience who have contributed to this eminence of IIIT. And today I want to share with you the prehistory of how we got here. So those of you who were around in 1995 and even before will remember that was a period of great excitement and what we call dot-com bubble. And what caused that was in 1991, the World Wide Web was released by the creator, Tim Berners-Lee, and the CERN organization in Europe, which was responsible for, and they created it mainly so that physicists could share information, documents among themselves. And the basic model was very simple: publish and subscribe. Anyone that has something important to share, they can publish on the web, and subscribe. Anyone that wants to read it can read it. And that led to a whole set of technical problems And how do you find out what is there that has been published? And so initially, a couple of companies, Yahoo and Lycos, were built to create an internet atlas of things. And by the way, all of this World Wide Web was created on the foundations built by the internet protocols, TCP/IP, that was formalized, I think, in 79 or 73 or something, I'm forgetting. And that itself was based on the ARPANET, which was created in 1969. I was very lucky to have been in the middle of all of these things, because I went to Stanford as a graduate student in 1963. And I remember very clearly when we connected our ARPANET connection, Stanford connection, in 1969, 68, 69. So that's the background of the World Wide Web, kind of creating all this irrational exuberance, it was called at that time. And in that, one event happened that truly took everyone in the world by surprise. In 1994, a company called Netscape was formed, 1 year, and by Jim Clark and Mark Andreessen, who before that was at University of Illinois, built a web browser called Mosaic, I believe, Mosaic. So anyway, they both started this company, and a small group of people, less than 100, maybe 50 or so, built a Netscape browser, web browser, and released it for free for anyone. And soon after releasing it, with zero revenues, nothing, they went public. And originally they were going to kind of sell each share at $14, and then there was so much interest, they doubled the price to $28. And by the end of the day, the stock market, kind of took off, and it was at $75 with no revenues, no profits, no nothing. And that was the kind of a mystery for most conventional investors in the thing. And that started a whole series of other .com companies to be created. And it was a major event at that time. And the fever caught up to India too. And it so happened we were lucky to have, as a chief minister, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, who was a visionary and had his own ideas on what we should do as a country. And he was also, I believe, a member of the ruling government, NDA, under Mr. Bajpai. Anyway, and so there was a lot of discussion, and he invited Bill Gates to Hyderabad, who came, and he started using PowerPoint. And I was kind of amazed, because I came into Hyderabad at that time, 97 and 98, and he was very proudly using PowerPoint. From what I know, he did not create it. It was created by Sudan, his special secretary for IT. But anyway, he was using PowerPoint to explain things. And there was also, at the same time, a number of IT companies were started, like TCS was already there since the middle, and Infosys and so on. All of them, Devang Mehta, who was the, who created this NASCOM and became the first president, was kind of in Hyderabad, and together in this cauldron of activity in India, they came up with the idea we need to kind of create an institution which can train high quality professional in the information technology. And out of that came the idea of a IIIT, Information Institute of Information Technology, and an original society that to host IIIT was created by a society registered by Sri Srinirazu and Devai Mehta, who is no longer with us, and Ram Mainampati. Three of them were the co-signers of the society at that time. And so this was all done, I believe, at the instigation of the chief minister, because they wanted to start a IIIT. They didn't know how to do it and what to do. And we were very fortunate at that time to have two visionary IAS officers, Mr. R. Chandrasekhar and Mr. Ajay Sahani, both of whom were not only knowledgeable in information technology and computers and so on, but were actually providing significant conceptual and visionary leadership in the AP government. So Mr. Chandrababu Naidu asked them to say, you create this institution and get it started. And they basically said, if we created it like every other university, it will never, amount to anything. So they wanted to make it completely autonomous with no, any kind of no links or no control from any bureaucratic machinery in the government, which turns out to be the big problem for most of the other IIITs and other institutions that have been started. They have some umbilical cord to the government who still can control what they do. So it is not true that the government did not provide support. It turns out the land that IIIT is on is about 65 acres or so, and the buildings, original buildings that are still there, were all built for the High Court of Andhra Pradesh, who did not want to use it, did not want to move far away from the center of Hyderabad into in the boondocks. And so that was given on a rental or a lease of 1 rupee per year. And that turns out to be a non-trivial amount, of support from the government. And all of this came about because Mr. Chandrasekhar and Mr. Sahani were able to kind of conceive of a way of doing things legally within the government without giving cash or without giving anything to IIIT. At the same time, I got a call from Mr. Chandrababu Naidu. I was in the USA, and said, we are starting this institution. We want you to be the president. I said, absolutely not. I can't be the president of the thing because I'm already fully employed and doing other things. This was the time I was the dean of the School of Computer Science at Carnegie Mellon, and also on the President's Information Technology Advisory Board, playing a key role. Later on, I became a co-chairman of the thing. So basically, so I agreed to become the chairman of this founding institution, and I helped to convince Narendra Ahuja, who was a friend of mine at the University of Illinois, to come and take a leave of absence for a couple of years, 2-3 years, to help to get it started. And Rajiv Sangal was already there, and he became Satyam professor at IIIT. And I believe Dr. P.J. Narayan also joined about that time. Anyway, we were lucky to have all the leadership in place, but most importantly, having the other clever idea they came up with is a way of financing this institution was to simply give them all that space, which they could turn around and rent to Cisco and Satyam and other corporate training schools which would provide regular income. And together they were supposed to we use it to have a completely autonomous institution called IIIT. And that was the time decision was made not to make this a conventional educational institution, but rather a research institution, because both Narendra Huja and Rajiv Sankal and Vijay Narayan and others all come from that research environment. And therefore, for them, it was natural to accept the idea that even undergraduates should be doing research, and got the whole institution started. So the other part of that is the deemed university. It turned out, for 2-3 years after the founding, we were just an institute. It was not, there was no act of the Andhra Pradesh government to make it they could have made it the official university, but they said, it has to be, there was no concept of a private university in Andhra at that time. Karnataka had private university, but it took another 30-40 years since the founding before people could have, I believe now you can have private universities in both in Telangana and Andhra, but at that time not. So we had to wait for MHRD to kind of give the permission to become a deemed university. And so they wouldn't, they said they adopted the name IIIT, and they started a number of other institutions, IIT Allahabad, IIIT Allahabad, and so on. Then suddenly they declared IIIT is our name, you can't use it. And it turned out it was trademarked and copyrighted by IIIT Hyderabad, but that doesn't matter, it didn't matter because they were in power. Mr. Murali Manohar Joshi, who's was the minister for MHRD, and he said, nothing doing, you have to change your name. And secondly, and of course, because Mr. Chandrababu Naidu was part of the government, he was able to twist the arms of the chief minister, the prime minister, and the minister for MHRD but they said, you must change the name. So fortunately, inspired, we kind of changed it to international. That meant we get to keep the IIIT name intact. And so that's the history of how we became an international institute of information technology. About the same time, Bangalore IIIT was also formed, and but it was not a full-fledged undergraduate and graduate institution, and it was not necessary. It was mainly a IT training school, not as a research institution. It might have changed since then, but at that time, it was primarily deemed to be a training grounds for the professionals. And so the rest is history. Basically, at this point, we're 25 years later, we're going very strong. And I'm happy to announce that I will be stepping down on September 2nd of 2023 and become emeritus chairman, and I'll be available and active, but I won't be the chairman. But I'm sure we'll find distinguished chairman, to take over. And that is the current status. And I'm very happy to be here, kind of starting the 25th year anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Raj Reddy, for your inspiring words. We now move on to this evening's much-awaited event, the revelation of our Silver Jubilee logo. A bit of backstory about it. To mark IIIT Hyderabad's 25th year, the Institute organized a special logo design competition in February. inviting submissions from IIIT Hyderabad students as well as alumni, since who better than our very own students to best represent the Institute's ethos? We received submissions from several students. Each submission told a story of what the Institute meant to them and touched a chord. It was difficult to choose one over the other. A big thank you to all those who sent in their entries. The top contenders were Trupti Ann John from the PhD program in Computer Science and Engineering, Abhinaba Bala, student of MS by Research in CSE, Javesh Chandra from the MTech program in CSE, Subjit Sahu from the PhD program in CSE, and Pratyay Kedar Suvarna Pathaki from the dual degree program in CSE. Of all the submissions received, Pratyay's eye-catching design was the winner. We now invite our chief guest, Dr. Gullapalli Nageshwara Rao, founder of Alvi Prasad Eye Institute, to please come on stage and launch IIIT Hyderabad's Jubilee. Thank you, Dr. Rao, for ending our suspense. We now invite Pratyay to share a few words on the thought process behind designing the Silver Jubilee logo. Pratyay is a third-year student in the dual degree program in CSE and a researcher at the Center for Visual Information Technology. He is passionate about visual design and technology and is the head of design at PING, IIIT Hyderabad student media body, and the open source developers group. Over to Pratyay.
Thank you, Olga. A very good afternoon to everyone present here, the esteemed director, deans, professors, and my dear friends. My name is Pratyay, and I have had the honor and the privilege of designing the visual identity for IIIT Hyderabad's Silver Jubilee. Right from when my initial draft was chosen to be the winner of the competition, the logo design process has been a grand collaborative effort. The objective was to come up with a singular symbol which complements our existing logo, reflects the ethos of the institute, and is versatile enough to work in various media. And here it is. The logo depicts Jagrati, our iconic banyan tree. It elegantly emerges from the number 25, whose swirling circular form has been inspired by the geometric representation of Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. I've just put in a lot of care and effort to flesh out every last detail here. The spacing, the typography, which is fully open source, by the way, and all of the different variants. Everything here creates an overall sense of steady balance, ushering the next 25 years of IIIT's success. Next slide, please. Here is a very brief overview of the visual design process. Here is a very brief overview of the visual design process: prototyping, construction, and typography. What is not visible here is the near month-long process of iteration and feedback that went into creating this. I sincerely thank the faculty, the staff, and the alumni for overseeing the process, for providing me with the utmost creative freedom, and for trusting me to just kind of do my thing. And lastly, I thank all of you. I sincerely hope the logo has lived up to your expectations. It's been a genuine pleasure to work on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing your passion and thought process behind creating this beautiful logo project. We now move on to the special Foundation Day Distinguished Lecture by Dr. Gullapalli Nageshwara Rao. Dr. Rao is an internationally renowned and acclaimed pioneer in his field who needs no introduction. After a successful career in the US as an academic ophthalmologist, Dr. Gullapalli N. Rao established the Alvi Prasad Eye Institute in Hyderabad 35 years ago in 1987, and is also the founder and chair of that institute. Alvi Prasad Eye Institute is a modern eye hospital complex with advanced training programs for ophthalmologists and allied eye health personnel. LVPEI is also an eye research center that runs rehabilitation programs, product development, and high quality eye care models for underserved areas. Dr. Rao received his basic medical education in Guntur, Andhra Pradesh, and completed his postgraduate residency training at Dr. Rajendra Prasad Center for Ophthalmic Sciences, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. In the US, he trained at the Tufts University School of Medicine in Boston, and later the School of Medicine in the University of Rochester, where he continued on as faculty until 1986. His list of accolades and achievements is very long, and I will mention a few. Dr. Rao is a visiting prof for many universities in the US, Europe, Australia, and Asia, and is the recipient of honorary doctorates from several universities across the globe. He has published over 300 papers and serves on the editorial board of several scientific journals. He is a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in Glasgow. Dr. Rao is the president of Ophthalmologica Internationalis, a group of 80 most eminent ophthalmologists in the world. He is inducted into the Ophthalmologic Hall of Fame by the American Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgery. Only 57 ophthalmologists have been bestowed this honor in the last 300 years. He has been bestowed with the Lifetime Achievement Award by the All India Ophthalmological Society. Dr. Rao has been honored with the World Cornea Congress Medal from the International Cornea Society, among the first 10 awardees for his outstanding contribution to the field of cornea. He is the chair of the board and the CEO of the International Agency for Prevention of Blindness, partnering with the World Health Organization for the Right to Sight. He is on the board of trustees of the International Council of Ophthalmologists, a recipient of many more national and international medical and humanitarian awards, and named lectures around the world in scientific meetings and universities. It is our honor to hear him speak today on institute building, some lessons and reflections. May I request Dr. Rao to please address the gathering.
Slides are there. Can I get something? This one. This was advancing. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Professor Raj Reddy, Dr. Narayanan, trustees, faculty, alumni, students and guests of IIIT Hyderabad. It is indeed a great honor for me to come and speak to you on this very important milestone of your great institution. 25 years looks very long, and at the same time, not very long. It's not advancing. Okay. What a beautiful, sprawling, and magnificent campus it has developed into. So my congratulations to all the founding fathers, successive leaders of the Institute, faculty, students, and staff for achieving this milestone. In these past 25 years, the institution has made many significant contributions on multiple fronts, both innovative and at the same time very impactful. You have also received several accolades from around the world and within the country, and many of you were recognized for your work. The key for all this success was the road not taken. Robert Frost's poem, the last three lines, if you see, two roads diverged in a wood. And I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And IIIT has taken the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference for you. You have made this into what Srini Rajagaru called public institution, a true public institution. The most important gift from that decision was autonomy, very often not seen in many institutions. The road not taken is also in the area of innovation, and you have made innovation as part of your DNA. And that has again made all the difference. As Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is only limited. Imagination encircles the world. That, I believe, is the basis behind the founding and the growth of the IIIT today. You are involved in technological innovation of all kinds, aimed at overall human welfare. And that in itself is very, very significant. As Gates couple said, one of the greatest values is the belief that the best investment any of us can make is in the lives of others. India, we have made much economic progress, but regretfully, the human development indices do not bear or run parallel with this economic progress. We continue to be a country of enormous disparities that actually do not provide opportunities for many in quality education and quality healthcare. On the education front, the country has multiple challenges, from elementary schools to advanced universities, all levels. And as far as healthcare is concerned, we are victims of dysfunctional health systems across the country. That results in continued high rates of maternal mortality, infant mortality, low vaccination rates, continued leadership, dubious leadership in the areas of tuberculosis, malaria, and leprosy globally, and the emerging challenges of non-communicable diseases. When you have the combination of these two, the public health crisis is going to be very, very difficult to contain. COVID-19 has brought its own challenges. A recent issue of Economist published on school education, the impact on school education around the world, and said millions of wasted minds. COVID learning loss has been a global disaster, and the costs of that are stacking up. If you look at this graph, the share of children who cannot read and understand a simple text has gone up significantly. And South Asia, of which we are part of, and Sub-Saharan Africa have been the worst victims of this. And the World Bank estimates that disruption can actually cost nearly 21 trillion US dollars in earnings over the lifetime of these children. Of course, polio is a relatively success story. So that was because we do well anything on a mission mode. When it has to be a sustainable operation, that's where we fumble and fail. And the same was applied for the vaccination efforts in COVID-19 because of the infrastructure of the polio across the country. And that has helped us to achieve a very high degree of vaccination rate against COVID-19. But again, this had a negative impact on all other areas of healthcare because most of the resources, the limited resources that we have, are diverted entirely to tackling COVID-19. We work in one area, our institute, that is the area of blindness. Globally, we nearly have more than 1 billion people with vision impairment, needless vision impairment. Needless because 90% of that can be either prevented or treated by the already available knowledge and technology. But because of various other factors, a lot of suffering still exists. India contributes to nearly 25% of the global blindness. Again, a leader. And 8.5 million blind, and about 5 times that number significant vision impairment. It is against this background that 35 years ago, we have founded the Alvi Prasad Institute on a simple foundational values, reconciling excellence with equity. And we have evolved into a 5-tier, a pyramidal structure of delivery of eye care from the remotest rural areas and tribal areas to urban areas like Hyderabad. From simple screening to management of complex eye problems. And we are essentially present in 3 states, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. And we are now in 263 different geographic locations at all levels of care, primary, secondary, tertiary, and advanced tertiary. And we function through 10 different arms, and each of them contributes together for the success and in achieving what we call as universal eye health coverage. And this matrix interdigitates very closely. It is that close interdigitation that keeps the institute vibrant and move forwards. And we are also very particular about our values, the values of excellence, equity, integrity, togetherness, and patient first. And all this happened because of the strong dedication and commitment of our 3,000 plus team and the tremendous generosity of friends from around the world. And they continue to help us. The impact, we touched nearly 35 million people over the last 35 years. We treated about 5 million children. We have our direct permanent presence in taking care of nearly 12,000 plus rural villages. We have a Asian record of the highest number of corneas harvested from eye banks in a country where everybody told me, forget about it, nobody donates corneas. And we are now the world's biggest corneal transplantation center for the past decade. So all that was possible, and the same thing is possible in other areas of organ donation. And in research, we are the leading eye research institute in the country, publishing nearly 35 to 40% of all research articles from our country. And another area where we are very proud of is our Vision Rehabilitation Program, where we work with people with irreversible vision loss and help them with various forms of training, for simple living skills to advanced computer training, with many of them ultimately ending up in technological corporations with very high emoluments. And all this has provided us the status, stature, stability, and sustainability. And we ended up in 2020 receiving the highest award in vision care the first time, given for the first time, called Greenberg Prize, for having the greatest impact towards advancing the restoration of vision. And this was shared with two others in the world, the University of Pennsylvania and the Arvind Eye Care System in Madurai. How did all this happen? We have many similarities with the IIIT in some sense. The inspiration, experiences and exposure, motivation and support. Inspiration came from some individuals and some institutions around the world. The one on the left on the top is the famous Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. The Wilmer Eye Institute at Johns Hopkins, the way it was founded, the way it has grown was an inspiration, and the leadership there. And the bottom one is Bascom Palmer Eye Institute at the University of Miami, ranked #1 in the US for consecutively for the past 10 years. Again, a great inspiration. And individuals, my own teacher, Professor L.P. Agarwal at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. I believe he has been the best ophthalmologist ever this country produced, covering every aspect of ophthalmology. Professor Venkataswamy, the founder of Arvind Eye Care System in Madurai. Dr. Badrinath at Shankar Nethralaya in Chennai have all inspired us to pursue the path that we had taken. Just listening to one lecture by Professor Ramalinga Swami nearly 55 years ago in my medical school turned the interest in me to pursue medical research. At a point where I didn't even know how to spell the word research properly, I had no exposure to research. So these kinds of moments can happen to any one of the youngsters sitting here. You never know when that switch turns over. And he was one of the leading scientists of India, probably the best ever, most celebrated. And he was the former director of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences and DG of the Indian Council of Medical Research. And these were my two mentors in the US, from whom I learned many things: discipline, time management, rigor in everything you do. And that has gone a long way in helping to mold my life for the rest of the years. These were all remarkable individuals. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. And a lot of you have it. Probably every one of you have it, provided you want to express it in a positive way. The experiences in my life certainly helped me, and the exposure. First 10 years of my life in a rural village, small rural village, I shared that experience, I think, with Professor Raj Reddy and probably Srin Rajgaru. Early adult life in a small town like Guntur, and then in Delhi, and then the US, which transformed my life. And then the wider world, where I had education from so many formal and many more informal interactions with some of the luminaries in different fields in the world. And that entire education helped me, and that background motivated me to deal with the burden of the problem of blindness in our country and the educational exposure. My wife and I have decided to return to India in late 1981. And we fixed a date as 1986, and we stuck to it and returned it. started a foundation there, and then approached the Andhra Pradesh government, then Mr. N.T. Ramarao was the chief minister, and obtained a piece of land in a place called Kismatpur, next to Himayat. That's where we were going to start the Alvi Prasad, the Hyderabad Eye Institute. That was the name of the trust at that time. But a year later, I was introduced to Mr. Prasad and his family. And that's when the whole concept, we started building the institute in Banjara Hills, the land donated, and then it became an Alvi Prasad Eye Institute in recognition of the large contribution he made at that time. So the groundbreaking was October 17. 6 months later, we started seeing patients. The initial support came from family, friends from every stage of my career, and the team of our institute, all kinds, from the housekeeping ladies that made a great reputation and make great mark in Hyderabad in the initial years for the cleanliness of our institution, to the most meticulous surgery and the breakthrough research that are done in our laboratories and operating rooms. And of course, the believers around the globe who supported us. This is Mr. Alvi Prasad, a legendary movie producer and director, and his son, Mr. Ramesh Prasad. The vision at that time was somewhat limited to create an academic eye center of highest standards along the lines of the best of US medical centers. And the only difference was we also decided to add the element of vision rehabilitation for irreversibly blind people as an integral part of the institute, because other major institutes around the world do not have this kind of a integrated rehabilitation units. This is a picture from my native village. And as we went along the first 5 years, watching the complications coming to us from all over, and particularly from the rural areas, because of the poor quality of services that are available at that time in these areas, I thought some people like my own villagers should have access to better quality care. And then we were engaged in a first of its kind, large-scale epidemiologic study called Andhra Pradesh IDC study. Everybody dissuaded me from pursuing it because of the cost. But yet we pursued, and out of that came the revelation about so many things: the problem of blindness, the burden, the causes, the barriers for seeking care, and then from that evolved our pyramidal model of eye care delivery. A model that addresses comprehensive care. That means prevention, treatment of disease, and rehabilitation of irreversible vision loss. Absolute commitment to quality with no compromise. And take as much care as possible closer to the doorstep of the people who need it most. That's the remote rural and tribal areas with permanent facilities, not eye camps. That means you are making a total commitment to those communities, that you are there with them and providing continuity of care to those communities with compassion. So this is our model, from simple screening to management of complex diseases. At each level, offering care that is appropriate to that level, that's available to everybody, affordable, accessible. Right from the beginning, we made a declaration that at least 50% of all our services will be provided free of cost. And our motto is anybody coming to any of our campuses, whether it's a primary care center or Hyderabad's Banjara Hills campus, for any eye problem, shall be taken care of, irrespective of the complexity of the problem and cost of care, whether they pay or don't pay. And we've been fortunate that we've been able to live up to that commitment all these 35 years. At the very bottom of the pyramid, we focus on a population unit of 5,000 people, using mostly a volunteer force. These could be ASHA workers, other healthcare workers, a school teacher, somebody educated, keeping an eye on a population of 5,000 people. And they promote eye health. They help us with our screening programs. And if they find somebody with an eye problem, they refer them immediately. And they also keep an eye on those who have had some kind of surgical intervention and make sure that these people go back for their follow-up care properly. And additional focus on the two vulnerable age groups, the pediatric and the geriatric, and these screening programs. And at the next level, we have developed a model about 30 years ago that's now adopted all over the world and considered a model for the world by the World Health Organization called Vision Centers, the primary care vision centers, staffed by one-year trained technician selected from the local rural community, trained and put back in their own community with an opportunity to advance their careers. Some of these kids who came from these villages, from some of the most economically disadvantaged families, ended up completing their PhDs. And that is a very gratifying result, besides taking care of the people in those rural areas. Here, they are given all the training to provide primary care. Over 50% of the needs is a pair of glasses in our communities. That can be easily tackled there and be handled by these well-trained technicians. In addition, they also can detect a potentially blinding disease and make an appropriate referral to the next level and linkage with other areas of healthcare. More recently, we have added technology over 7-8 years ago through telelinks and electronic medical records. So from there, they can directly talk to the specialists in Hyderabad or Visakhapatnam or Vijayawada and get appropriate advice for appropriate referrals. So the concept of Vision Center is simple. A center for every 50,000 people in rural areas that is permanent with a well-trained staff and provides high-quality primary care linked with the secondary level care. At the next level is the secondary service center, where we have a full team. Everything is done, ophthalmologist plus the team. So just about everything is done except very complex surgeries. And more recently, for the past 5 years, we are even doing some tertiary care in some of these centers, like corneal transplantation, which is not done even in 90% of our medical colleges even today. But we are able to do that in our rural centers. Retinal surgery, glaucoma surgery, so that these people don't have to travel to big cities with an incredible amount of cost. The cost of travel for these families is far more than the cost of medical care, to eliminate all those problems. So significant number are treated right there. The very first center that we started over 25 years ago is in a place called Mudhol, a small hamlet in Adilabad district, then Adilabad district, now Nirmal district, one of the poorest and the remotest. That's where we wanted to start our first rural program, deliberately. And everybody predicted that would be a sure failure. And 25 years, now it is, Mudhol is considered a model of rural eye care for the rest of the world. It is linked with 10 vision centers, and the complete community of 500,000 people around it is totally screened and have full eye care coverage, comprehensive. The bottom line is a gift from an industry, the Navbharat Ventures, in there, where their factory is located in Palancha and Khammam district. So the chairman of that company wanted to give us a beautifully designed building. That's why you see the difference in the architecture between the two. The first one was where our resources were limited. Second one was where the donor wanted to gift us a beautiful building. The combination of these two, secondary and primary care, we call it Village Vision Complex. And each of these, this integrated model, doesn't exist anywhere in any area of medical field. Regretful. secondary, primary integration in a positive way and working together. So that's a perilous journey for the son and the mother to get simple health care. This is not unusual. This is a recurring scene in many remote parts of the world. Just 100, 150 kilometers from here, you probably can see such experiences. So how do we tackle those problems? By creating an appropriate healthcare system that can reach out to everybody. And you from IIIT, with your technological brilliance and innovations, can continue to help us in reaching out to the every person like that in the remotest rural and tribal areas. At the next level, we have the tertiary centers where a lot of training of all cadres happens. Here is our campus in Visakhapatnam. And we have one in Bhubaneswar, one in Vijayawada, and soon we'll be having one in Kadapa. In not advancing. Yeah, thank you. At the very top is our campus in Banjara Hills, where anything that's done is as good as anywhere in the world. So cutting edge research, dealing with the most complex and unusual problems, training of the trainers from around the world, and research in every area of eye care, development of appropriate models for care. We participate very actively in advocacy, policy, formulation, and planning at both national and global levels. And this is where we work to mobilize resources for all our activities. So this is our institute right now, with significant connections all over the world. And every one of those connections have been an asset for us. A model of universal eye health. Universal health is an aspiration of every country from Afghanistan to America, but very few really have achieved it. And the other area that we constantly aim is excellence, everything we do. Infrastructure, human resources, systems. And we have a great combination of art and science in our institute. And we support greenery. Here is your banyan tree that is symbolic to IIIT, which was removed from our Banjara Hills campus for expansion of our construction and moved to our Kismatpur campus. And 5 years later, this is how it is flourishing. So we do take care of banyan trees. They are very valuable. So this culture is another thing that we have our own way of doing things. Culture is defined as the sum of attitudes, customs, and beliefs that distinguishes a group. And I believe that what distinguishes you from other institutes of technology in the country and around the world. Cleanliness, punctuality, regularity, grooming, aesthetics, frugality, resource usage consciousness, respecting all stakeholders, and the belief that someone is poor, we do not have any right to treat them poorly. Everybody shall be treated with respect and dignity, irrespective of their socioeconomic status. In human resources, we follow all the good principles of human resources development. Very important is the enabling environment after identifying the talent, nurturing them, and providing career advancement. We believe in 3H healthcare professionals who become very proficient with their hands, with full knowledge using their heads, and a heart to take care of everybody that is in distress. We have defined career path to all cadres, and we try to constantly identify the outliers and put them on a completely different track on an accelerated path. a lesson that I have seen repeatedly in the US system. And identify also those people with leadership potential. An egalitarian, we try to be, but not easy in our country. Non-parochial, only merit-based, performance above degrees, and it has to align with our values and culture. Mahalakshmi is one of our leading rehabilitation professionals. Came to us from Srikakulam, a small village in Srikakulam district of Andhra Pradesh at age 16, already married, had a child. Husband didn't have any education. They moved to Hyderabad for their livelihood. He was working as a day laborer. She was looking for a job. She just completed 10th. So we took her in our rehabilitation unit as a helper to escort our patients. She moved through the ranks rapidly, completed her high school, a degree, a master's, and several courses in rehabilitation from some of the prestigious institutions in the US and UK. And she's one of our star performers. She had 2 children. One is a PhD in optometry, and the other is an MBA and an executive in Amazon. And Srinivas joined us as a technician for primary care from an economically disadvantaged family, went on to complete PhD from the University of New South Wales, postdoctoral fellowship in London School of Hygiene, Johns Hopkins Public Health, and then there he is, he's the leading light in our public health program. And this girl is the daughter of Ashok, who is next to her there, who is one of our patient care assistants. Born blind, he could not accept her as a father because he had a blind daughter. His wife is the one who spent all her energies, brought her up, and our rehabilitation team adopted her at that stage. And from her birth until she is now 20 years old or 21 years old, she was one of our children in the Institute of Rehabilitation Department. More recently, she got appointment in one of the technology companies at a salary of 50,000 rupees a month, more than her father ever earned. So these are all human stories that make our institute's existence worthwhile. Beyond all the glory you get from publications and international meetings, awards, etc. We collaborate with multiple organizations around the world in all areas. About a year ago, we went through leadership succession. It had, again, a transparent process. We took the road not taken. The announcement was to all the faculty are welcome to apply, from the junior most to senior most. Whoever felt that they qualified, they would be interested in. Then it was filtered down to 6 who went through 2 years of intensive exposure to every aspect of the institute. And then finally, the nationwide selection committee picked my successor, who moved into my seat about a year ago. So we are very happy. The future is secure. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, the future depends on what we do in the present. And what we have given to the future generation is a very strong foundation, a foundation based on values. And as we look into the future, 2 strategic pillars. This is what we decided when we were 25 years old. A program called Next 25 to create institutes of excellence in niche areas for major causes of blindness and primary eye care in the 150 million population in our 3 states where we work. And the future will be a 3T model, a combination of talent, technology, and as a healthcare professional, we need tenderness to deal with people in distress. And I believe the combination of the 3 is very crucial for any institution like ours. In isolation, none of these will work very well. So the impact is direct to millions and indirect to billions through our worldwide alumni and the many capacity building programs through which we did capacity building for many organizations around the world. About 2 years ago, the WHO came up with the World Report on Vision with the aspiration of integrated people-centered eye care. And that's what we believe we did already 20 years prior to WHO's aspiration, which was realized long ahead of them. And Atul Gawande says, success in medicine has 3 core requirements: diligence, to do right, and ingenuity. And that's what we try to incorporate in all the tasks that we did. If you look at the World Health Organization health system framework of system building blocks and the goals and outcomes of those blocks, we just about ticked all these boxes in creating our own eye health system over the past 35 years. I believe we live in a fragile world today. Combination of pandemics, climate change, energy shock, global conflicts, collapsing economies, food crisis, nearly 2 billion in our world in starvation and increasing. So to tackle that, many institutes like IIIT, ours, have to come together and help tide over such crises. And I leave you with this thought from J.K. Rowling's Harvard graduation lecture in 2008. Your intelligence, your capacity for hard work, the education you have earned and received give you unique status and unique responsibilities. That's your privilege and your burden. If you choose to identify not only with the powerful, but with the powerless, if you retain the ability to imagine yourself into the lives of those who do not have your advantages, then it will not only be our proud families who celebrate our existence, but thousands and millions of people whose reality you have helped change. And all of us in this room enjoyed a disproportionate share of the privileges that this country offers. And it's for each of us to think of the powerless, and a lot of them in our country. So every one of us can contribute to their betterment. Once again, I'd like to congratulate the entire IIIT community on this glorious milestone that you have reached, and wish you many more successes as you march into the future. And by your golden jubilee, you will perhaps be #1 in the world. Wish you all the best. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for that highly inspiring and insightful lecture, Dr. Rao, and some great takeaways for all of us to think about and work on. We now have joining us remotely from Gurgaon, Mr. Vipul Kedia, an alumnus from the second batch of our institute. Being from the early batches, he had the unique experience of seeing the institute take shape in its initial days and contributed to its growth as a student and later as an alumnus. For him, IIIT Hyderabad was his first startup in some sense, and the time spent here changed him as a person, and his organizational experience as a student led to his admission to IIM Ahmedabad. He went on to join AFIL, which was his second startup, where he has spent the last 16 years in scaling up, leading to its public listing in 2019. He currently serves on the board of AFIL and leads their business in India. Always willing to lend his support to the institute in all ways possible, Mr. Kedia is also serving as the Vice Chair of the Silver Jubilee Committee and will share with us a brief outline of activities and events we can look forward to over the next 18 months.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, my heartiest congratulations to all faculty, staff, students, and alumni of IIIT Hyderabad on commencing the 25th year of our foundation. I am deeply humbled to be here representing our alumni body and to be given the responsibility of working towards celebrating this special milestone. As an alumnus, it is a proud moment for me, and I have a deep sense of gratitude towards the transformation that IIIT Hyderabad brought in me during my student life. It undoubtedly played the most important role in shaping my personality over the last 23 years of my association with the Institute and continues to do so. In some sense, all of us who are the early alumni of the Institute celebrate the Silver Jubilee of our trust and the faith that we placed in IIIT Hyderabad when we joined it and the rich dividends that we have reaped. It is no different from investing in a startup which yields a windfall gain, the only difference being that it is not a one-time gain, but a lifetime of gains. As Professor PJN said, 25 years in the life of an institute is an early milestone. While we have a lot to be proud of, the best is yet to come. IIIT Hyderabad has always been a different kind of an educational institution in many ways. And the core thought behind planning the Silver Jubilee events is to celebrate what we have achieved in this period and bring out the unique aspects of our institute. The Silver Jubilee celebrations are planned around primarily 4 lines of various activities, which will take place over the next 18 months. The first track is events, and we will be planning several events to celebrate our Silver Jubilee. These events would include conferences, distinguished lectures, cultural events, a lot of social initiatives, etc. They will cover and highlight the different dimensions of our institute and involve all our stakeholders. These would include special Silver Jubilee editions of our annual events like the R&D Showcase, Felicity, etc., as well as many special events like the ones we are having today to mark the occasion, and also events involving our stakeholders and alumni across the globe. The second track is to engage with our alumni, who are perhaps the most important and undoubtedly the largest stakeholders of the Institute. Beyond having alumni meets and other alumni engagement events across the globe, we aim to encourage alumni to plan and conduct their own activities to mark the occasion. These could include alumni-led conferences, social gatherings, sporting events, etc. The idea is to involve as many alumni as possible and let them plan any events that interest them. We will also plan some online events where a larger chunk of our global alumni can come together and participate as a single body. The third and perhaps the most unique track has been called Creations. This track aims to celebrate what IIIT Hyderabad has achieved over the years and capture what truly is the essence of our institute and the things which are unique about it. We also want to use this opportunity to set ourselves on the course of making more significant contributions to the larger society in multiple ways that we can. We want to capture the unique model which IIIT Hyderabad established of being a public institute that is self-funded and established as a globally renowned center of excellence. Other aspects like our research orientation, human values program, undergraduate research, etc., are what stand out, and we aim to capture them not just as a chronicle of our journey so far, but also as a model which can be followed and replicated by other institutions. We will do this along with setting a direction for ourselves for further scaling up of our contributions and contributing to the society in more meaningful ways. The fourth line of activities is fundraising. We have set high goals for ourselves, and to achieve them, we need funds. We have never received financial aid by any of the governments and are responsible for our own needs. We need significant investments to scale up our infrastructure and other facilities to set us on the path of growth that we want. We are keen to set up a corpus through alumni and industry contributions to take care of our immediate and medium-term growth plans. This is also a unique opportunity for the alumni to step up and become direct stakeholders in the institute's growth and contribute back to our alma mater. A fundraising committee has been set up to work with all stakeholders to create this corpus over the next 18 months. Today, we have also launched a website dedicated to the Silver Jubilee celebrations and tracking all the activities which will happen. An online merchandise store has also been launched, which will deliver IIIT Hyderabad branded merchandise all over the globe for our alumni and partners to have easy access to it and proudly wear our logo on their chest. Needless to say that we need a lot of resources, ideas, and people to execute the celebrations over the next year and a half. I invite everyone, especially the alumni and students, to come forward and participate to celebrate this special milestone. We will set up student and alumni committees to help plan and execute all the above lines. I invite all the students and alumni to join these committees and help deliver a memorable celebration during which we can connect and celebrate IIIT Hyderabad, which has indeed been a landmark institute since its inception and a second home to many of us. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of the first session. Thank you, Dr. Gullapalli Nageshwara Rao, sir, for making the time out of your busy schedule to come share your words of wisdom with us. Please accept a small memento from us as a token of our appreciation. Thank you, Professor Raj Reddy, Chair, IIIT Hyderabad's Governing Council, for joining us remotely from the US, despite the time difference, and being a constant guiding force and inspiration to us right from the founding of our institute. Thank you, Professor P.J. Narayanan, sir, for your support, and a special thanks to all the students, alumni, staff, and faculty who are with us today, both virtually as well as physically. Our special thanks also to the IT and audio visual team for making it all happen, the communications team, the press and media personnel for the coverage, team from the general administration for all the logistics support, the student volunteers and planners, alumni who were involved and are ready to help, and finally the Silver Jubilee Committee. We will now have a short 15-minute tea break, followed by a cultural program by the students. Please do join us for that session at 5:30 p.m. For those of you watching remotely, please tune in again at 5:30 via the same Zoom link. Thank you.